Evening, everyone, and welcome to the Lottie show. Brand new show here on the Canon Chatter with me, Lottie. Tonight, I'm delighted to be joined by my good friend G, and not to be confused with RG, the creator of She Knows Arsenal podcast. Jess, ladies, thank you so much for joining me and being my first guest. How are you tonight?
I'm good. I can't complain. Thank you for having me.
G?
Yeah, really good. Exciting times for you. So thanks for having me on your first show.
Brilliant. Again, thank you for joining me. So tonight we're going to be looking at an overview of the season, which was awful to say the least. I don't know if you agree with me, ladies. It was just an absolute nightmare. Later we'll be looking at who will be vacating Arsenal this summer and who should stay. Throughout tonight, I'm also going to put you and Jess head to head, G, in who's that Arsenal player, which would be the best of 3 rounds. Everyone in the comments, make sure you take your guesses too. But for now, let's get started with the intro.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing. The first time it's happened.
Right, ladies, let's get the first round out the way. I'm going to give you some clues about who this player is. It will be on their club career or their international club career. And first person to answer gets the point. So round one, I was born in 1985. I'm a centre-back. I've scored on my debut for Arsenal in the 37th minute against Everton. In 2018, I played 74 minutes for my country and then was taken off for Vincent Kompany against England.
Oh, Marlon.
Well done, Jess. Wow. I hadn't even finished that one.
Nice.
Well done. 1-0 to Jess. Gee, you've got to get on your toes, girl.
Yeah.
That was really, really good. Wow.
Sorry.
It's all right, no worries. But my last part of the clue was the next 3 games. He never started, but he was substituted. Right, so let's get into it. So the key points of this, I want to know what the key points of the seasons for you were, led to our demise. I mean, we finished 8th, so we got 61 points, which was more than last season, and we were 5 or 6 points off 4th or 5th, but we can say that same about 11th as well. I mean, stats will always put a positive spin on it. Anybody who's just seen me on Canada Chatter, seen me on my blog, they all know I love my stats. But I do think we haven't been good enough this season at all. Jess, how are you feeling about this season?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess the first issue for me, it started in the transfer window when it ended, knowing that we wouldn't have a creative midfielder available to us. And at that point, Saka wasn't who he was. We didn't have Emile Smith-Rowe. So they kind of weren't people that I was thinking about. But knowing Ozil wouldn't be registered in the squad, we kind of knew that was going to happen. And not getting a Wah and only getting Thomas Partey and Gabriel, I knew we didn't have enough. For me, I don't think the squad is as good as other people think it is. I think it's really unbalanced, and that showed in the beginning. And then I would say kind of around the West Ham game at home, I realized that we're not ready to compete because the quality of our players has always been so good at even when we played against hardworking teams like West Ham, Aston Villa, these types of teams, our quality would show through. It wasn't. We got outplayed, outworked, kicked around the park by West Ham. And I thought to myself, oh crap, this is going to be a long, long season. Arteta had switched from a back 3 to a back 4. That kind of switched things up. And he had this persistence with Willian, Aubameyang, and Lacazette up front that kept us from being able to score goals. We had no energy, no pressing, no nothing. And then we talk about not being able to have Thomas Partey for a significant amount of the season. So we had no mobility in the midfield. So it was just a lot of different things. But I think not having the right players and switching it to a system where you don't have the players necessary stifled us a little bit. So I would say the summer window and Arteta's persistence with systems and certain players hindered us. And that's kind of where I think everything kind of lies until we get to December, when we get the center mid, or we get Thomas Partey in, Emile Smith-Rowe and Odegaard, and you start to see things kind of come together. But at that point, it was already kind of over anyway.
Yeah, no, we were absolute shambles when people were making movements in that September to November window. I completely agree with you there, but I do also feel we gifted so many points from stupid individual mistakes. Gee, I don't know if you agree with me, but I don't know where to start with that.
I mean, you don't want to be saying all the time that VAR is the reason of our downfall, because it's not. At the end of the day, it's down to us on the pitch and being switched on at all times. Not for a second you shouldn't lose your focus in being a Premier League player. I think as well, it's the same for everyone. No one really had that sort of break from the summer because obviously the season went on a bit longer. There was no pre-season. We didn't really change the team as much either. So in that respect, we should have been able to just carry it on from what we were doing in the FA Cup and how we were also playing. We were playing so confidently from the back and everything. And we should have just been able to transition that in. But as soon as we started our first game, we just set up completely different. And it seems like so many tactics where you do obviously have to change for the team you're playing against, but also you should have a foundation of like, this is how we play. We'll adapt certain things to if we need to just ping it up the pitch or play out. But I just think too many things changed and they just couldn't get a grip of it.
I do think also when we were still in things like the FA Cup, Carabao Cup, I think the rotation went wrong. I mean, yeah. I don't think he had like a set plan set out, if I'm honest with you. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but he'd be resting players for the Europa League, and then the next thing they're playing in the Carabao Cup or whichever. It's just he needs to learn to get his balance on the rotation right.
The FA Cup was a big one that stood out against Southampton. You know, I think when you looked at that team, I looked at it and I thought, this is good enough to beat Southampton. But you knew at that point, I think people forget, Pepe was like kind of bundled up with Willian at that time. We were saying Pepe and Willian just aren't pulling their weight. We're not able to play them against Southampton, and they just have like kind of the worst game ever, and we bomb out of the FA Cup. And it's kind of like, I think Arteta, it's more, we should be able to rotate, but we couldn't. And once you saw that these players were out of form, and you could see it, Willian was dead from the West Ham game. You could just tell, and he just continued to play him, and it just was horrendous, you know. So for me, it's not so much as like you should be able to rotate, and if you look at a team with Willian and Pepe in it on paper, should be able to beat a Southampton team, but they weren't because they were out of form. Arteta would see even players like Ceballos, you could tell that he wasn't ready to play. Continue to play him, he basically got us kicked out of the Europa League. He was one of the biggest factors to us being crap in the Europa League. So for me, Arteta needs to see players, see that they're playing like crap, and just drop them and stop trying to continue to play them when they're clearly out of form. It's crazy.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you. Jess, what did you both think about Arteta dropping Aubameyang for being late?
I actually didn't have an issue with it, to be honest. I thought it was fine because he should be on time. He's the captain. I know some people don't care about that kind of stuff, and I know that like American commentary was really harsh on Arteta, said that he should have just kind of got over it and just let him play. We won the game, so I think it's the right choice. But it's Aubameyang's form fell off massively after that, and I think that says more about Aubameyang than it does about Arteta. For me, it wasn't a big deal. We won the game. I think if we had lost, it would have looked so much different. But for me, it was perfectly fine. He should be on time. Like, what are you doing? Like, people are, it's a lot of traffic in London. He's lived in London for 3 years. Like, you know the traffic, get there on time. Like, can you not? Like, so for me, I think it was fine.
Yeah, I'm the same, really. I think it just comes down to the leadership role for me. Whereas if being the captain, he should be the one that's pretty much there first. like not the one that's turning up last. And even his attitude, I know the cameras were kind of milking it by panning it on him all the time and making it a bigger thing, but when he was just jogging around, like he was like, well, I'm not playing today, and he probably knew he wasn't going to get a chance to come on either. And yeah, I think he's just not a leader, and it just proved in that game and then carried on the rest of the season. But I do think it was the right thing to drop him. You have to make an example. You can't, if he'd done that to one of the younger players and then not done it to him, then you'd be like, well, you have to level the playing field. Anyone that doesn't get the rules has to have the same punishment. So I think at the time, and obviously we won, so it was okay. But you have to stay strong and put a stamp on those sort of things so it doesn't continue happening.
No, definitely. I totally agree with you. I mean, for me, he's not a captain. Give me maybe Rob Holding, but definitely or Kieran Tierney. I think they definitely lead the way. Although with Rob, some of his last few games were questionable in terms of leading. Yeah. I think the game that was a turning point for me was the FA Cup qualifier against Man City in December. I did think it was unacceptable for us as the holders to be beaten like that. The management of the competition it's not, as I said before, it's not great. I still can't figure out why he's resting players and things like that, and also the Europa League. It's again unacceptable. We should be getting our C and D teams through to the semi-finals as minimum.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys agree, but the kids should be playing. No disrespect to the other teams, but that's how I feel about it. We were our worst enemies.
In the group stages, we've always done pretty well with a mixture of the team being senior and like fresh youngsters. Like we've always sort of, because their passion and their chance brings like the hunger to win the game. But in the FA Cup, it's our trophy, isn't it? Like, how would you not want to just go out there and make sure you win that game? Just thinking we can play you go in on off form, go on, like go and do it. Even like again, the subs were pretty pointless, didn't affect the game whatsoever, and none of them looked like they wanted it. Where you would think we won this only a few months back as well. It wasn't in August, I think it ended up being. So you think that success and holding that trophy in your arms didn't happen that long ago, and how would you not be desperate to have that back again? That's what's disappointing to watch, because you can just see it just looks like they've never even tried. Yeah. Whereas like I would be desperate and do absolutely anything to make sure we got through to get the trophy again.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. With that, I mean, if I know you play football down in Cornwall, G. I mean, if you were losing, right, would you not still continue and fight for that till that whistle finishes to get that lead back?
Absolutely. Even if you were winning, like I would be running around till my legs couldn't carry me anymore. So I could at least come away and think, well, I did everything I possibly could to do something. But, it's just the style of, you miss the days of just seeing them run. As soon as they get the ball, just look up and run. Like that's all I do when I play. I don't care about passing it. I don't know who's behind me because I don't care. I just want to go straight up and create something, and that's just what's lacking so much from us.
Jess, why do you think we're lacking that so much?
Because they're not confident in what they're doing. Like, it goes back to what we're saying, like we have certain players that have a lot of individual errors in them. I think that's more based on the fact that they're not confident in what they're being asked to do. There's players that are being asked to do things that are out of their skill set, so they can't do it at a high level consistently. When I think about people like that, I'm thinking about Granit Xhaka, I'm thinking about Leno, I'm thinking about Holding, and even maybe Bellerin, players like that just have a mistake in them. Every player has a mistake in them, but the more comfortable you are and confident in what you're doing, you're less likely to make mistakes. I mean, I don't know, I'm pretty sure you guys watched the Champions League final, and you could just tell that the Manchester City players were not confident in what they were doing. And they looked so eerily similar to Arsenal in the Villarreal game, the first leg. And I thought to myself, what's the line holding those two things together? two managers that tinkered with a system right before a big match, decided to do something they've never done before, and the players look stiff. They just look like they've never played before in their lives. And you're trying to figure out, is it energy? Is it this? It's a lack of confidence. I used to play as well. And my biggest thing was when I'm being asked to do things I'm not comfortable with, I'm a little bit more timid, a little bit more stiff. When I'm confident, I can be loose and just play to the best of my ability. And so I think Arteta is asking a group of players to do things that they're not confident in. Whereas when we were in the FA Cup, we're playing in a 3-4-3, which really suited players like Aubameyang, with like Xhaka, like Holding, like players like this that are more confident playing in a more reserved system. So it's a combination of not having players that are good enough and a manager that likes to tinker. So that's how I kind of see it.
Oh no, definitely. And I do think, I don't know what people think in the comments, but this whole false nine, it doesn't work. We've seen it. If it doesn't work for City, it's not going to work for us. End of story.
Yeah, it definitely didn't. I think we don't have. You need a focal point. And if you don't have that, you need to have 6 amazing players up top that can cause chaos. And like when City was doing it, I'm like, this is not Barcelona circa 2008, when that was the best team that ever played football before. Man City, as good as they are, they're not as good as that. So you can't really give them that same assignment. Then you have Arteta, who's doing it with us, and we're significantly less in quality than Man City. And I'm just looking at them, I'm like, what the heck? And you're thinking it's going to be Pepe, who's actually played false nine before. But you give it to a 19-year-old named Emile Smith-Rowe, and you expect him to do that in the biggest game of our season? Like, what is happening? So I would be happy never to see another false nine again. That would be my choice.
Definitely.
I think we'll see it again, though, under Arteta. I just hope that he uses it more wisely and not in a game that means absolutely everything in our season.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I mean, do you want to answer, Charlie?
Absolutely. It seems like it's going to be that next step of how the game changes, though, doesn't it? Like, because certain teams are now starting to adapt it and bring it in. That's sort of like the next change of how to play the game. But you have to be literally perfect for it to work. And on your day, you may be on one game, but consistently, no one is going to be perfect every single game. Especially not us, where we currently are. So, I hope. And well, again, in those type of games, like if you're playing I don't know, like an early FA Cup game and it's against someone a bit lower down the leagues or something, for example, those are the games you would maybe try and change something, but you don't do it when the game means something. Like, on what planet do you think, do you know what I'm going to do today? Is I'm going to stop what we've been good at, try this, and then be surprised why it doesn't work. So yeah, for me, no, stop
and
it.
It's not only the false nine for me too. It's like Xhaka at left back as well. Like, you already have something that's throwing off your team and their consistency. You do that, plus Emile Smith-Rowe at false nine, plus not having David Luiz and having Holding in there. Not saying Holding is bad, but that's different than having David Luiz and having Ceballos in the midfield. Ceballos, like, you know what I mean? Like, those types of things just throw you off. So for me, it's like, if you're going to do one thing, because even I think Tuchel did it in the FA Cup as well, not in the FA Cup, in the Champions League. Havertz was this false nine, which is different than having like Giroud or another striker or Werner up there. So you can make one change, but when you change 2 and 3 things and your team is already not confident, like, can you not do something else? Like, I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
I don't think any of us did at the time.
Has a domino effect on everyone else.
Yeah, it's too much.
No, definitely. I mean, it just didn't make sense. Like, I would have. Do you know what? I would have been fine if he did it in the league. I wouldn't have cared, because that was done at that point. But we should have gone through. Should have gone through.
Yeah,
that
you
game.
see how Manchester United and Villarreal played in that final match. You're thinking, man, we probably could have did something there. But the first time that we played somebody of note, we bottled it. Like, we really, really did. Like, the teams that we came up against before that, let's be honest, they were horrendous. The teams in the group were
Yeah.
horrific. And at one point, we had to bring in like Bellerin and Aubameyang to save us in one of those games. Like, we're not good enough. Like, we're not good enough. Like, we really aren't. We should be putting Villarreal away. We really should. The only thing that saved us is that Manchester United messed up as well.
Yeah.
that made it better. But if they had won, man,
That would have been
Arsenal in the mud. I mean, we're always in the mud, but we would have been in the mud there too.
Yeah.
No, definitely. Oh, that's so there's so many what ifs and buts through this season, and and I think if we've actually managed to pull ourselves together, we would have got something this season. But unfortunately, we couldn't do it.
Lottie, aren't you happy that maybe, like, hindsight, let me just be like devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Aren't you maybe happy that, like, so the FA Cup to me was a huge, like, bandaging over the cracks. I think we thought we were better than we were because we won the FA Cup. Could you imagine how maybe we would have felt if we had won the Europa League and been in the Champions League thinking that we're good? Maybe the Cronkies don't feel like they have to invest. Maybe we're not looking at a DOF. Maybe maybe we think we're kind of there. Maybe there's something in finally realizing that you're crap. So you actually have to make changes, like real changes, you know? I'm just thinking about it from that perspective because people thought we were really good after the FA Cup.
Yeah. Do you know what? Even if we won the Europa, for me, I know for a fact we are not good enough for the Champions League. We're nowhere near.
And we're out of the first round.
Exactly.
the group stages.
Yeah, exactly. We've got so much work to do. And I think not having Europe will help. But again, I still think we need 3 transfer windows. I'm giving Arteta till Christmas.
Yeah.
And then that's it for me. I know we're not going to touch on the Arteta in or out because there's just so many versions and stories and people debating about it all the time. And it does become toxic. It's just too much sometimes.
Draining, isn't it? Sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And it's just, like the amount of abuse people dish out, I don't see the point.
No.
A bad game is a bad game.
He's not going anywhere, so there's no reason to get. And my thing is, we should want him to do well. I think there's some people that are like so Arteta out that they want us to do bad in order to be right. And for me, I prefer, even though I'm not sure Arteta is the guy for the job, I would want him to prove me wrong. And when we get to December, we're talking about how happy we are that we kept him versus I want us to lose our first 5-6 games so we can go. Like, that's weird to me. I'm like, there's people that want us to lose. And there was actually people that wanted Manchester United to win the Europa League and Chelsea to win the Champions League so that it could be about us. And I'm just like, what is this? Like, what is this life? Like, I'm so confused. Is this the Twilight Zone? Like, we should never want our rivals to win and we should never want Arsenal to lose. Like, that's so weird.
Exactly. I think it is absolutely bonkers. I mean, that's the whole point of being Arsenal to die, is it not?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Even I know that I didn't really want us to, in a way, I wanted us to miss out so we can have this year to just scrap it all, as much as it hurt. And I was really sad at the end of the game. I was like, yeah, we won, but what? But I just look at it as I didn't care about that. I wanted us to finish as high as we possibly can, and that should be the most important thing. Obviously it's nice to finish above certain people, but realistically the only club I care about is mine, and I don't want to keep looking at my phone at the table and think, well, where are we? I want to open it and see us right there, you know.
Yeah.
And reading everything's like, I don't want this player the player that they hate, they can stay, so then they make the club worse, and so to make Arteta get sacked. You're like, why? Like, why is your way of thinking like that? The only thing I want is, yes, he's going to stay, and I'm cool with that, because we can't change that. And whoever's going to go or come in, we aren't in control of that really either. And when it's all ready to go, we have to just sit there and deal with what we have and watch it all unfold. That's how I see it. You've got to you can't be hoping like, oh, I hope we lose next week, so the pressure might be on. It's like, why? Surely you just want to sit down, watch your game, get involved, have a win, and then go to the next game.
No, definitely. I think we need to kind of spin this round and try and look at what positives we can take from this season.
Sure.
I do feel we've improved defensively. Little bit overhyped though, because there's still more progress that needs to be made. I mean, we've been better against the top 6. We won at Chelsea after 10 seasons. In 2011, we last won there. I don't know how you guys felt about that, but I can't believe I missed that game because I was really, really ill. I was gutted. Pepe's finally settled. I can't wait to see what he's bringing next season. What do you think of the young players this season in terms of Saka, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, and the goal from Balogun?
I mean, if we didn't have them, where would we be? Like, that's really, I mean, I don't want to say, I think people don't want to look at them as positives because it's been such a bad season, but like, you can't deny how good these players are. Like, they really are good. And I know Martinelli didn't have like a real, like, he scored some goals at the end, but he wasn't like so involved. But Emile Smith-Rowe and Saka scored his first England goal yesterday. The guy's amazing. You know, he's so good. And Emile Smith-Rowe, I know a lot of people want Grealish, but I think Emile Smith-Rowe is going to be just like Grealish, you know, so why are we looking somewhere else when we have good players at our team already? Balogun is somebody that I'm hoping that gets playing time. Aziz is somebody that I hope gets playing time next season. So hopefully these players are able to get some playing time. But that being said, as good as they are, we have to make sure that our ambitions and our ceiling are as high as theirs, because now we're looking at teams like Aston Villa that are looking at our players. You know, even I think they said Bukayo Saka is the replacement or the ideal replacement for Jadon Sancho at Dortmund. So for me, it's all good and well and fine for them to be good for Arsenal, but we have to raise our expectations for them because they have world-class ceilings. So we need to be up there with them. But just in terms of the season, like, I mean, the sky's the limit for at least Emile Smith-Rowe and Saka. I think Martinelli has generational talent as well. I'm not sure if he's an Arteta player, so I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. But Emile Smith-Rowe and Saka, wow, like, they're so good. And if they played for anybody other than Arsenal, I think they'd have more hype around them, to be honest.
G, sorry, go on, G.
They're special, aren't they? Like, I know Saka has been involved a little bit longer than Smith-Rowe, but like Jess said, you're looking at people sometimes just want like a big name, big money signing to come in when you've literally got that player right there. And all he needs is more, you know, it's his first like half a season, not even a full season he's had with us yet. And the impact he had, like, why would you not just want to tie him down, which I think we're doing now. So he has the backing from us to say, like, we believe in you. You can take this shirt is yours. Like, go out there and play free. But yeah, some of the others, I think Balogun might get more of a chance this year, seeing as they've tied him down as well, which is, I think that's important. Like, they've secured their future, so we're not there the end of a couple, you know, coming to the end of next season thinking, oh, he's only got a year left. Like, people can come in for him now, or people can start talking to him. I think the security for them is probably good as well. So then they think, right, I'm here now for the next couple of years, and I'm going to go out and play my game and see where it takes me. And like, for Saka, it's just wonderful, isn't it? I was so on edge thinking he's not getting in that team because of everyone else has sort of taken my view away from it by what they were saying, he's dropped. And I was like, worrying about it. But yeah, last night it was like being a proud mum watching him when he scored. I was like, come on, I'm man of the match. He's got twice he's had that, and I think he's only played like 3 or 4 times for England. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Nice.
So good.
Definitely incredible. I mean, I had a bit of a long day. Again, I was sleeping through that game as well. So I literally only seen the clip I tweeted. What do you think of Balogun? I've just seen Lee's question pop up on the screen earlier as G was talking. Jess, what do you think?
So I don't want to overhype him because it's like, I haven't really seen a lot of him. I've seen clips from him playing in the academy. I think he's beyond that. I think he's, you know, some players get to the point where they're just too good to be playing under 23. So he definitely needs to be playing with adults now. But my level of like, okay, so how good is he? I'm not sure he's ready to just like step straight in and start for Arsenal. I think that's a little bit too, and he could probably do that at Brighton, but we have to remember the pressure at Arsenal is way more than at a Brighton. So he probably could step in, but the pressure may to just be too much. But I think from what I've seen from a physical level, I think he's physical enough. Like his body physique is big enough for him to be able to hold off some of the bigger defenders. We have to remember, like, well, he's going to be playing against like Dunk and Maguire and big boys like that. So he would have to be big enough. I think he's bigger than Eddie, and Eddie's a little lightweight. I think he's an all-around striker from what I've seen, which is good because for us, we have Lacazette, who's pretty one note, and we have Aubameyang, who's pretty one note. We need somebody who can kind of do it all. It'd be a part of build-up, can play across the front three, can be a kind of like a poacher as well. And I like his attitude. He seems like a fighter. He seems like he's ready to step up into the next level. So for me, I think he's good enough to get onto the bench at Arsenal and take Eddie's place and be that next guy up, after the first striker or whatever. But I want to say this for sure, that I think we also have to remember that Martinelli needs time too. So depending on how much, if we don't have European football, maybe it would be best for Balogun to go out on loan. But yeah, I think he's a good player. I'd love to see him next season.
Do you know what? And this is probably going to be an unpopular opinion, but I think we should loan him out to Championship.
Yeah.
And get him some more experience before we put him under the pressure of being in the big team. Otherwise, he's going to end up like Eddie. I think that's one of my biggest fears with him.
But that's what happened with Smith Rowe. Like, he went abroad to Germany, I think, and that kind of went okay. I think he was injured, so didn't really get a full go at it. And then he went down to Huddersfield, well, up to Huddersfield, but down in the Championship. And they, when the reporters talk about it now, they all say everyone from the club had such good things to say about him as a youngster, and he was so keen. And I think for him to even take the choice to think, I'm going to go out learn the English game at a lower level, but the Championship's still pretty decent. I think for Balogun and Nketiah, I think both of them could do with that, like taking a step away from what they know and really like going to test themselves, because ultimately it's going to either show us exactly what they are and if we do need or don't need them, or it's just going to make them a better player to come back to us and stronger. I think it's only a good thing.
If we don't get rid of Lacazette, he needs to go out on loan, to be honest, because if you have Aubameyang, you have Lacazette, and you have Martinelli, where's the playing time for him? You're going to have like 16 less games, not having Europa League. So would he be best suited like just sitting on our bench doing nothing and then only to go back to under 23s or some silliness like that? Or would he be better for us when Lacazette leaves to have had a whole year of experience somewhere else? So it's not that I don't want to see him in an Arsenal shirt. I'm just thinking in a year, wouldn't it be nice to have Balogun with a whole year under his belt? I think so. Yeah. Than him just being kind of like where is he going to play? Like, I don't understand. I don't see it.
Unless it's like the relegated teams that have come up, he plays in those sort of mid-season sort of thing, or the early rounds of the cup. He isn't really going to get in over the others, is he? Like you said. So I think the best option is to just get out and get the experience.
No, definitely. I'm definitely on the same page for that for Martinelli. I think I said on Monday on the rumour mill, I do think we should loan him out just so we can get those minutes, because at the moment, I know we've come back from injury in January, but he's just not getting the minutes, and I don't understand why.
He can take Willian's spot.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm setting up a GoFundMe page for a taxi and flight to America. So sorry, Jess, he's coming over to you. We don't want him.
No, I'm like real story. Like, okay, so like I follow LAFC. They're an MLS team. And I was looking, like I was going through the roster and seeing if we had like an open DP spot, which is like a designated player, to take Willian. Like I would take Willian at my MLS team to get him away from my Arsenal. Like I'm that desperate to get rid of him. Like, do we have a spot? Brilliant. Can he come here? Like, it's so annoying, but with Martinelli, I think I get what you're saying. Like, why isn't he getting playing time? But I think if you have Pepe and you have Emile Smith-Rowe, Saka, Martinelli, I think he would find playing time in the time that Willian was taking from him. Maybe he would be suited for a loan, but if you loan Martinelli out at this point, I think you're opening up the door for him saying like, well, why don't I just go somewhere else? That's my biggest fear. I don't think Balogun would want to leave Arsenal if he had to get loaned out. Martinelli, I'm kind of afraid to loan him out because, I mean, I think you'd be opening up the door for him to leave, to be honest, you know. But Arteta does need to play him more. I get your point. He needs to play him more.
No, did you know what? Just thinking about your response there, and it's like, actually, you're right. Although I like the idea of him going on loan, I don't want to lose him, especially with Aubameyang being the age he is. We've got what, maybe 2 years more out of him. Do you think?
Maybe. I mean, I'm seeing that we're open to offers for him, so maybe, you know, but he has no connection to the club the way that Balogun, Emile Smith-Rowe, and Saka do. So if you give him a taste somewhere else, he may just say, well, he'll just go, forget it, you know, especially if you're not going to give me the time. So I'd almost rather just keep him close, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely. Right, ladies, are you ready for round two?
Yes.
Guess these images. I've got 2 images for you. Let's just get the first one up. There's 2 players in that picture. And for the point, you need to guess both. Guys in the comments, take your guesses.
Fabregas.
Henri?
Not Henri. Fabregas is right.
Fabregas and Pires?
These are hard.
Nope.
I know one of them is Fabregas. Henri?
Nope.
Did you say Henri? Okay.
G's already guessed that one.
Flamini? I don't know.
Nope.
I don't know. I'm trying to like
Not
really,
Flamini.
really look.
Let me give you a clue. He is a Spanish player. I am not giving you any more clues.
Monreal?
Who's
No,
Spanish
that was
player?
too early.
Nope, too early.
Spanish player.
My mind has gone blank here now.
It's all right. You've got time. Guys in the comments, any ideas? The ones we've guessed so far, we've got Fabregas right, but the other player, who is he?
Jose Antonio Reyes.
Yep.
Nice.
I will say that Mr. Silver Fox beat you there, Jess, but well done. You got a point. That's 2-0 to Jess.
Nah.
Gee, what's going on?
My mind goes blank with these things. That was good.
Who is this other Spanish player? Oh, R.I.P.
Yeah, no, I thought that one was appropriate.
Antonio Reyes.
Oh,
yeah.
I do as well.
That's why I
He was
kind
a
of didn't
brilliant
say it, 'cause I
player.
was like, I'm not sure if you're gonna.
He was
I was trying to think
so
of
good
the era by the
looking.
kid.
No, definitely. I think we can all agree on that one, ladies. No, I will say, Jess, that Mr. Silver Fox did beat you to it.
I'm sure,
Literally
yeah,
by
because I drew
30
a huge
seconds.
blank.
He did beat you to it. Right, are you ready for the second image, ladies?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let's do it.
Song.
This should be a nice, easy one. Jess!
Mine still has a pause sign right across the whole thing. No idea.
Oh, gee, what's going
That
on?
one was easier.
No, that was the easier one. That was the very easy one. Gee, come on, you got to step up the game.
I like
Jess is
that.
beating you. Right. We're just going to take a quick short break and we'll be back in a second, guys. All right, welcome back. Now we're going to have a look at the squad photos and see and have a chat about these rumour mills. As you can see, we've got a few people who are on their way out. They've got nice crosses on them, which is fantastic. The first rumour that we were talking about on Rumour Mill on Monday night was Guendouzi. And gee, I'm going to give you this one because your comment in the comments has just took me aback and you're just ecstatic to get rid of him. Please explain.
Yeah, I just can't wait. I've never liked him for a single second. I just think, like, I get some people kind of like the bad boy thing going on with him with that Brighton game. I think like some people liked that he was up for a fight, and I get that. I do get that. But I mean, that was once. Like that was it. He did that one time, and the amount of times he sort of like showed off. I think he did. Was it? I think it was at Watford or something. Did he do like 2-0 to the players, and we ended up drawing like 2-0 or something? And he boasts about how much money he was on. I mean, like, you're not cool, you're not clever. Like, come on. And yeah, I just think, especially since he's been gone, I don't think there's a single time where he's even crossed my mind thinking, do you know who could improve this team right now? Never, unless other people were bringing it. And I was like, oh yeah, he's still a thing, isn't he? So yeah, for me, I'm just like, get him dusted, gone, move on. If he comes to be a good player, so be it. You can't keep everyone, can you? Like Gnabry, for us, he wasn't that kind of player, and people do evolve and adapt to better leagues and become better, and that's gonna happen. We could sign someone that's fairly not that good somewhere else and come to us and be great. You just don't know, so you can't just hold on to someone at the thought that they might become something magical. Because we've got our magical players ourselves that we do trust and we will want to play. So yeah, I think it's Marseille that are almost done and dusted.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Do you think he's worth 15 million, ladies?
I would take it.
Definitely.
Take it.
Yeah, I know people are like, well, at some point he was worth like 60. That was inflation. He was never worth like 60. I would say the top, he was probably worth about 35. But contract length comes into that. The pandemic comes into that. Teams in Europe don't have money. They're in the red. And he's a talented player, but not necessarily like a top level talent. And his attitude stinks. So 15 million to me, you take it and you move on. Like, I don't know why people are so hung up on it. I think there's a lot of wanting to use this as a stick to beat over the head with Arteta. But Guendouzi was never that good. He in Unai Emery chaos, like when he's not that good. He's just not. I don't care. Bye. Yeah. I'm good.
And as well, don't you think that since he's been away, you haven't really heard him kicking off? Like, oh my God, look what he's doing. Like, he may have scored. I think he scored bangers, but that was about it.
I have heard rumors that he's been called a petulant child, but Hertha Berlin, yeah. And the manager's not happy with his attitude either. That's why they're not keeping him.
Well, they said he's going through football puberty. They said, like, he's 22 years old, and as a footballer, like, if you look at Saka and Middlesbrough, you see how these players carry themselves. Like, it's not an excuse. Like, I get he's young, but you're an adult. Like, you're in a job. Like, get over yourself. And I know people are like, well, he's having a child. Hopefully that'll help him. Hopefully that'll help him wherever he's at. Like, we don't need Matteo Guendouzi. It's unfortunate that it didn't work out, but at 8 million, we bought him. You get 15 million for him, just move on. I don't know why people are holding on to it. I really don't. He wasn't that good.
Yeah.
No.
He wasn't.
Agreed.
No, definitely agreed. Everyone, well, anybody that knows my Twitter, I don't like him. I've been told off for tweeting about it too much. I'm quite excited for him to go, so I'm not going to carry on
we'll have a party.
Talking about him. Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely. Cocktails at yours, Dewey.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to get you to elaborate on Willian a bit more, Jess. Why we need to get rid of him. I know you said you'll take him over there, but
I mean,
his stats are terrible. I mean, 1 goal in 37 games.
I think we need to have a conversation about, well, two different things. Why we're always so desperate to bring in other people's trash with this notion that they're going to bring experience and leadership from their club to ours. And also why when these players who were decent or good at their other clubs come to Arsenal and become crap. Those are two separate things for me. So the first part is I just think we've convinced ourselves that we need to bring in players from other teams that we think are better, and we never allow the players that we have to become leaders or show their leadership qualities. Kieran Tierney is a ready-made captain. Just make him captain and get over it. Declan Rice is the captain, or now that Mark Noble is not really in the team, he's the captain of West Ham, and nobody's like, well, he's 21. Like, who cares? Like, who really cares? Like, he's already a captain. Like, if you allow your players to show up, they will. So this notion that we have to bring in old Chelsea players, old Manchester United players to bring that for us is a joke. We don't need that. Nobody else does that but us, and it's never worked. So why do we continue to do it? The other question is, why are they good players? Because to me, David Luiz is a good player at Chelsea, and Willian had a really good season the year prior at Chelsea. Why did they come to London Colney and seem to fall off a cliff? The expectation at Arsenal is different than at Chelsea. I think when you get to London Colney, you're thinking, okay, this is a place where I could come in to relax. The expectations are not as great, so I can just take the mick, or whatever you guys say, take the mickey. You know, so I think we have to ask ourselves, do we have the right culture? Why is it that players can just come in and do whatever? And why was he allowed to play like 8 games in a row like crap and nothing happened to him? He cost us so much. He cost us so much. I'm telling you, he was a big reason why we lost those 8 games in a row. We picked up 2 points out of 9. And so for me, this is a big black mark on Adu and Arteta's CV for me. You could bring in Thomas, you could bring in, Gabrielle, but bringing in Willian is a joke. And then I'm still hearing that, we've inquired about Aspilicueta. If we do another one of these, I'm finished. Like, I'm done, So Willian was a joke. Like, he was just so bad. And I could have told you he was going to be bad before he stepped foot anywhere near the Emirates.
No, definitely. G, what do you think about Bellerin going off to Real Betis on loan because they can't afford him?
I'm sad, and I always will be sad because he is my favorite player and he has been for many years. I'm not about just hating someone because they're not exactly the exact same player they were before they really badly hurt themselves. I'd like to see anyone else that watches football and says these things try and play a game of football once they've had that sort of injury. Like, seriously. I think more the sad part for me, apart from him being like my guy, I think he's like one of the last guys. I know obviously Arteta, but he's the last form of connection to the old Wenger days. I know he wasn't pretty much like a starter like he is now. He was sort of making his way in towards the end. But I just think he's that connection. He knows what it was like to have been around the club at that point, the values of the club. He's always so proud to talk about us and living here and having the armband. And I'd rather hear things like that than just people being like, oh, I might try a new adventure, or I really want to work with this guy when you have no intention to stay. Like, I'd rather someone be desperate to stay, but then we sort of kind of agree that we have to move away. Obviously he's not the same. Like, it breaks my heart when he used to run up and down the wing. I was like, yes, this is it. I love that, because that's that's sort of what I sort of do and connect with. But I know he's not that sort of player as such anymore. He does always look a bit afraid to go into certain tackles or go for the sprint. He sort of just like jogs, and I think, nah, I'm not going to do it. So it might be a good time to try and to cash in. But again, you don't want to see someone like that go to a club that can't really afford him and we get a really low amount back for him, if that makes any sense. Like, you don't just want to dish these players out because you want to and take a bad the income back from him is low. Like, why? That's not gonna, you're just gonna accumulate loads of small transfer fees and get rid of loads of players, and you can't really, like, if he goes for like 20 million, who are you really going to get in that position that's much better than him for that sort of money? You're always going to have to overspend. So yeah, I'm sad, but I think I'm at the point where I can agree that it probably is a good time.
Jess, do you think that his price tag's gone down over the last year?
Probably a little, because he hasn't really played. And I think you could just tell that he's not up to the level anymore. There's also a lot of right backs on the market, so that makes a difference. When you're in a position where there's not a lot of prospects, then your value goes up. Whereas I could name probably like 10 right backs right now that are probably of similar, quality that you could look at, So I would say I don't think Arsenal is going to let him go for anything less than like 25, but to loan him out is just sounds horrific, because it's like you loan him out and then what after that? He's coming back to the Emirates if they don't want him, but when we're looking at teams like PSG, who's looking at Hakimi, and you have Barcelona, who's looking to keep Emerson. I don't really know who's in the market for Bellerin, so I think he wants to go, but how we leave him or how we let him go, I don't think will be best for us because I don't see anybody giving us 25 million just outright for him, to be honest.
Jess, check out the American Dest. He's very good. Have you heard of Dest?
Yeah, I love Dest.
Do you think? Do you guys think he could replace Bellerin?
I don't think Koeman would let him go. To be honest, he wanted him in because he's of Dutch descent, but also he's American, and Koeman's obviously Dutch. So I don't think we'd have an opportunity to get him before Koeman left. He's definitely somebody that I would look at, but he's also somebody that's playing for Barcelona, who, as bad as they are still kind of competitive, So I would like him. But there's players like Selik, who's a Turkish international, somebody like Majwawi, he's Moroccan. These are players that we could bring in for like 15 million, but we still have to sell Bellerin, So until we do that, what are we doing, I do like Chambers, though. I think he did well this season. I would give him a little, good for you, Chambers. You did good.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one, but I can't help but look at him and think, when's your next injury? He's had exactly the same injuries as Bellerin, but worse. And I'm still sitting there looking at him and like, when's your next injury coming? And then he's going to be out for months again. Right. Jess, as I know you've got to go soon because you've got to hop onto someone else's podcast, I'm going to throw round 3 out there. This one is going to be it's a bit of a weird one. He's one of the forgotten ones. So I was bought for £300,000 by Arsenal in 1997. I was 4th choice behind Ian Wright, Dennis Bergkamp, and Anelka. I scored the winning goal against Wolves, but did not start the FA Cup final against Newcastle in 1998. In all, I made 28 appearances, scored 3 goals before going on loan to AEK Athens, Birmingham City, and Den Bosch. Who am I? You need me to read that again. Yep.
And he played behind who?
He was 4th choice behind Wright, Bergkamp, and Anelka. Oh gosh, I've got to think of something better. These comments.
I mean,
Tony, shush.
I'm out because I have no idea, and I was like 2 years old at that point.
I know it's not Kevin Campbell.
Nope.
I know it's not.
Just don't look at the comments, Jess. Whatever you do not look at the comments.
It'll be there.
Oh my gosh.
Come on, is she going to make it 4-0? Come on.
Please do.
I don't think I know.
If you can't get it, I'm going to give it to G.
I can't go that far back.
Is there another clue? Is there another clue?
He's the only Liberian to win a trophy with over in England.
I don't know. That's a good one.
He's one of the ones that are just completely forgotten. I know. There's quite a few fans in the comments that I knew would definitely get them.
I don't know.
Okay, so
Be like 20 years old at this time.
This is Christopher Ray. I think I've said that right. Apologies if I haven't. Tony got that one. So Tony, you've secured 2nd ahead of G. I'm afraid. Sorry, G.
I'm cool.
Well done.
Wow.
So
that's tough. I like those games. That's fun. But some of it is just like it's before I really knew anything. So like anything before like 1999, I'm pretty that's pretty out of my range. But I should know that, so that's good that you guys brought that up because now I'll look him up because I forgot about him.
Yeah, no, he was one of those obscure ones, and I think I was just scrolling through Twitter and I saw a picture. I thought, oh yes, that's who I'm going to use because I hadn't seen an image of him in so long. My memory of him is very, very, very vague because obviously I was maybe about 7 or 8
Yeah.
at the time. So,
That's what I was
you know.
thinking. I was like, I was so young. You know,
No,
but
definitely. Jess, I've got one last question for you.
yes.
What are the 3 transfer rumours that you want to be true, that you want to bring in to Arsenal for next season?
I hope that the Buendia one is true. Just before I got on here, they were saying that we put in a $30 million bid. It was rejected, but also Aston Villa has put in a bid. We don't want Aston Villa to get Emi Buendia. We don't. We need to get Emi Buendia. So Buendia, Basuma. I am a part of the Basuma. I'm like the president of the Basuma fan club. If you guys want to be a part of it, applications are available. You can become a member. First month free. We need this player. You know, if we didn't get him, if we got something similar, I'd be okay. But it's Basuma and Onana. You know, I know that it's problematic because he's doping ban and stuff, but it would represent for me the club doing something smart and proactive, knowing that Leno could go this summer or the next. So those would be my summer transfers that I would like be excited if they happened for real.
What about your exits? Who would you like to get rid of completely? Just 3 players, just 3 you can completely get rid of that definitely go in the summer. I know Willian's on that list.
Willian's definitely on that list. You know, Guendouzi for sure. And we need to move on one of them strikers, to be honest. Like, if I'm being totally ruthless, like without having to say like the obvious of like the Kolasineks and those guys, I think we need to move on either Lacazette or Aubameyang. And to be honest, I can't say for sure it's Lacazette. I think the club feels like maybe they have to keep Aubameyang, but if an offer came in for Aubameyang of like 25 million, I think you have to consider it because one of them having both is troubling me at this point. They're old, they're not really holding their weight. So I would say just as like an out of the, you know, maybe not an obvious one of either Lacazette or Aubameyang. I think I would like for one of them to go. I mean, their friendship is cute, but like, does it really work for us? Like, not really.
Thing is, I don't get how they're such good friends off pitch and then they don't know each other on the pitch. It confuses me. It completely confuses me. I don't get it.
Yeah, for sure. So that's what I would say besides like the obvious ones that you want to go, like Kolasinac and those guys. I would even say that like I wouldn't be upset if Xhaka stayed. I know that a lot of people want him gone, but from a midfield perspective, like you have Thomas Partey, you have El Neni, both will be gone for AFCON. You know, if you bring in Basuma, he would be gone potentially. So Xhaka has been decent this summer. So I would say I would keep him before I would like, I'm looking towards that front and I'm thinking one of them has to go, you know.
No, definitely. I think the idea of having Partey, Basuma and El Neni in that midfield without anybody else, it scares me. Come January, February, we're screwed. We're screwed. We've got no one.
It's scary. Well, at least we don't have to think about Ceballos. I mean, I was just on like another stream and I went like off on Ceballos. He was one of the worst players this season, like by far. And I'm so glad to see the back of him, you know. But I'm gonna go. Well, are you guys gonna stay on?
Yeah, we're gonna stay on for a bit longer. Jess, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you if they want to follow you or watch your podcast?
Yeah, just you can follow me on Twitter at It's Jessinho. It's right there on the screen. And then on YouTube, you can just type in She Knows Arsenal and I'll pop up. I do shows at 6 and 10 p.m. UK time. So that's where I'll be going right after that. So yeah, thank you guys so much. And I'll definitely figure out a time to get you on the show, Lottie.
Brilliant. Jess. Thank you again. See you later.
Bye.
All right, guys, I've got a bit of a treat now. G, I'm going to have to start calling you Georgina because my super sub is coming on, I hope. G, are you there? Oh, I think he's coming in a minute. Right, G, I'm going to ask you the same questions I want your thoughts on Leno leaving. What do you think?
I've actually been thinking about this all day. I would be a little bit.
Hey, G.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
What's going on?
I would
Good
be a
evening,
bit
Jake.
gutted because although he does have random old mistakes in him, he still has saved us on many occasions and could pull off absolute worldies. I just think he's the type of person that he's become to, like, he just knows he's in the team. Like, there isn't someone on his back being like, I'm right here, and if you mess up, I'm in. No one, like, even with Ryan, he didn't even have, like, you just knew he was never going to play. So he's always, he's got that, like, I'm going to be in the team anyway, so it doesn't really matter what I do. So I think I'd rather sign Ryan again and then have those two really, like, going for it between the two. Like, there's no number one. You're both gonna maybe have the first two games one each and go out and show what you have. But at the same time, I also think when someone's openly saying, "Oh, I wouldn't mind a new challenge," you also, to me, that sort of thing, I think they're not 100%. Like, yeah, they'll be fine if they stay, but the temptation is probably always there to think, when can I get gone? And we have to be prepared for that. So with Onana, I guess, even if he can't play till next December or something, or this December because of the ban, yeah, I think either bit of business I'd be happy with, to be honest.
I think for me, for Leno to come out and say that is a bit of a kick in the teeth.
Yeah.
I mean, he's part of the reason why we are where we are.
Exactly.
I think selling Emi Martinez is a slight little problem because I think he highlighted everything that's wrong with Leno as a keeper. I don't know about you, G.
Yeah, I think the keeper situation is quite frustrating because I think, you know, at the beginning of the season we found ourselves in quite a luxurious position in that, you know, we basically had, you know, two keepers that were probably equally good enough to be our number one. And, you know, I think they're kind of touching upon some of the comments that Georgina and Jess were made in terms of the squad being unbalanced. And that was a perfect example of that, in that, you know, we're struggling to fill the strong side, but yet we had two really, really strong goalkeepers. And something had to give because, you know, given all of Martinez's patience over the years, I think it was quite clear at this point in his career that he wanted to be somebody's number one. And he wanted to actually be, you know, really vying for that number one jersey. So yeah, it's ironic like that he's now gone to Villa, and obviously we now find ourselves in a position where we've not had the greatest of seasons, and you know, Leno he's not, you know, good evening, he's not actually, you know, pushing for the move, and I don't think he will unless a real opportunity comes in terms of a big European club. But, you know, as Georgina said, we want committed players, and it just feels a little bit, you know, do we really want to be going into the new season with players that are not sure about their future, not really sure how committed they are to the club? I just think if a good enough offer comes in, we let him go and we rebuild in that position. But also, if he doesn't go and he does stay, I don't think signing Matty Ryan is enough. So I'm glad that we're linked with this Ajax goalkeeper, Onana, because I think one of the biggest issues that Leno had was that, what Georgina said, his position was never under threat. So it's like, you know, he's, you know, in terms of him performing, in terms of him lifting his game, you know, anybody who's played football, you know, at any level will know that, you know, if you know that you're going to be playing and your position is not under threat, you know, yes, you can be competitive, but also complacency can kind of come into your game. And I think at times in the season, Leno has dropped into that kind of complacency because, let's be honest, we all knew, we're not even part of the coaching team, but we all knew that Matty Ryan wasn't even going to get a shout in starting some of those games. So if he's not committed, I say let him go. If he is committed and he's going to stick around, then I think bringing in Ryan and plus Onana would be a good move and have some real competition for that number one spot.
No, that's absolutely spot on, guys. I mean, I've been questioning his commitment to us all season. I think after that Newcastle game with Matt Ryan in goal, it was just nice was nice to sit there and watch basic saves just be saved.
Yeah.
And there's no mistakes and no sitting there chewing my nails off thinking, oh my God, I can't watch this. But
True.
I do think Matt Ryan should have had a couple more chances against the smaller teams.
Yeah.
It was a shame, really. I think, what do we think on ESR to Villa? That's the latest rumour I've seen in the last 2 days. And it just completely blows my mind. He's still got 2 years on his contract, I think. What do we think?
Nah.
Guys, in the comments, what do you think? Let me know.
It's one of those, isn't it? One person probably has said it to someone, and then a few people have tweeted it, and then all of a sudden it's a thing, and it's happening. Like, it's so easy for people to take one tweet because someone is a journalist or has a tick and just be like, yeah, oh, well, that's happening then, isn't it? We've lost him. It's like, we know that they're in contacts to sort and extend his contract. So even bringing that into play, like, it just should just go straight over your head. And let's be honest, we sort of finished quite close to them. So at this point where we are now, we're basically selling to someone who we are competing with. And why would we do that with the arguably the second best player since Christmas for our team?
Yeah.
Like, when he was not there, we were so flat and dull, and he changed everything. So why, like, I don't get why people even pick it up thinking it's a thing, because it's obviously not going to happen.
Yeah, it's a 0% chance of happening. I saw it, but to be honest, I didn't really give it any time of day, because I just think to myself, it's one of those things where we call it silly season, isn't it? The transfer market. It's like, we're going to be linked with, I can't remember what, I think it was a conversation we were having either offline, or I think it was maybe part of the show that you and Stephen did the other day. And we were linked with up to 12 right backs within a space of a week to 2 weeks. So it's just one of those things. You know what I mean? I think if anything, I think it's something that the club have to be aware of, that, given the fact that we, one of the positives of this season, is quite clearly what you guys discussed has been the young players. And, if anything, more important than shipping out the dead wood and bringing in new players, up there is securing the futures of those young players. We tied down Balogun. I know Saka recently signed a quite a long deal, but I think even that they're looking at in terms of extending. Obviously, Smith Rowe, we need to There's rumours to say that it's more or less a done deal anyway. He's signed a new contract. Martinelli, these players, we need to one, we need to tie them down, and two, I think Jess spoke about it when I was watching, which was, we need to match their ambitions, because it's all well and good saying we've got this great crop of young players, but look, you've seen players like, Sancho go off to Dortmund, etc., and, really do well. So if we don't match these guys' ambitions and we don't start, really competing and winning things, then look, in 2 to 3 seasons' time, these players, regardless of how much they love the club, they may well find themselves in a position where they may have to leave in order to achieve things, and that would be a very sad day, for us to lose, some of these young players, particularly the HLN boys. We need to tie them down, and we need to build a squad around them, because they are part of our future. So, we need to not only tie them down, but we need to match their ambition. So let's hope we can.
No, we're dreaming of that. You know what it was like back in 2004. I would love to have something like that again, but it's just a case of waiting. And I think for me, I feel kind of sorry for a lot of the younger fans, because they didn't get to experience that like we did.
Yeah.
And I do feel it's coming, but we need to get rid of the egos in that locker room. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of egos. I mean, I want to see a George Graham. He came in, got rid of the egos, started again.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's going to be Arteta. So we'll just see what he does over the summer. G.
Yeah.
What? Georgina, sorry, Jay. This is going to be fun. I knew I was going to slip up at one point. Jay, Georgina, who should be staying, and who should be going on loan this summer? This summer.
That's a good one.
Jay, if you've got any answers, I can give Georgina a couple of minutes to think.
I'm gonna be brutal here, and I know some people will probably be like, "No, you gotta keep him. I would negotiate with Newcastle for them to have Willock for the next season, for a full season, because he did amazing and it was great to see. But he was only there for a few months. It would be nice for him to have that full Premier League season consistently playing, because let's be real, it's not gonna happen for us straight away. Just because you score a couple of goals for Newcastle doesn't mean you're guaranteed your place in our team, as much as some people think that's the case. And I would just to get the experience out there. There's nothing wrong, I think, with sending people out that are part of our club and probably will come back and be better players for it. I think experience is so key these days. I'd also send Nelson has to get out on loan again, because I think he has the potential to be such a good player and a good option as well. That's apart from that, I don't really like the loan situations. I don't like getting people in on loan because they're pretty much never going to stay. So you think, what's the point? And I think we just need to really get rid of a lot of people. We can't be sending them out on loan and then have them back next year, and then we can't get rid of them again. So they're just with us and we're stuck with them, in high wages, or if they're never even going to play anyway. No other clubs. I don't see any other clubs that are in the same position as that. So yeah, they would be the first things in my head would be those two to go out on loan, and a lot of getting rid of.
Okay. G, thoughts?
Yeah, it's I agree with Georgina. There's so many players' futures that need resolving. You almost forget. We've got Torreira to come back. We've got Guendouzi to come back. We've got Willock to come back. We've got Nelson to figure out what to do with. We've got Balogun's future, even though it's looking like Eddie's gone, but we've still got Laka and Aubameyang. So, as you guys were discussing before I came on, there's no point keeping Balogun if we're not going to free up one of those striker roles. So yeah, it's in terms of who goes out on loan, I would preferably like to see, if we don't sell Nelson, for Nelson to go out on loan. I would preferably like to see maybe Aziz go out on loan, and if needs be, despite the signing of his contract, Balogun to go out on loan. I don't want to see Eddie go out on loan. I want him sold. I don't want to see Guendouzi go out on loan again. I want him sold. I don't want to see Willock, even down to Willock. I could potentially be open to Willock going out on a full season loan. But again, I think given our situation, if we were to get anything, I'd be quite happy in excess of 20 million, to be honest. I wouldn't even bother holding out for 30, 35 million. I think he scored those goals. I think he's had a rich reign of form. Those goals will dry up. And I think the basic player that what we saw in a lot of performances for Arsenal, I think will return. And I think this is the best time to sell him. I think if we were to go on and keep him next season, we'd probably struggle to get 10 million for him by the end of the next season, because I don't think he's going to get into the Arsenal team. And there's also another one is Ainsley Maitland-Niles. What do we do with him? He clearly doesn't want to be a right back. He's not had the best of loan spells at West Brom, albeit West Brom are just horrendous. So I'm not surprised. So yeah, it's a hard question. So ideally, I would like to see the young players that could potentially have a future with us go out on loan. So your Azizes, your Baloguns, and potentially Nelson, just because he hasn't had the opportunity to go out on loan as of yet. Because when he did go out on loan to the Bundesliga prior, he actually played really well. He was actually really good, which is why I think a lot of Arsenal fans thought that he would actually, actually get into the first team or get more minutes. So I'd like to see that core of young players go out on loan. And in terms of the rest that are currently on loan, I want to see them. Yeah, I want to see them go. I don't want to see us like send them out on loan for another year, and then it's another year gone from their contract. When it comes to doing a permanent transfer, I think if we're loaning players out now, it needs to be with a clause to buy. It has to be, okay, if you're going to take this player on loan, then at the end of that loan, you're going to have to purchase the player for X amount. Because at the moment, we've got so many players' futures that are unresolved. And I'm just thinking, how are we going to get rid of all these players? And I feel as though, with the Euros and the Copa America and World Cup qualifiers and all of this going on, I feel as though a lot of these players are going to be going out on loan again to these teams. And, it's not really going to help us in terms of building for our future. So, yeah, the young players around the team, let them go on loan. And the rest, even if we have to take cut prices, I'd be willing to do it at this point.
Who would be your top 3 then, guys? That have to absolutely go this season. I know I've asked Jess this, but I want your opinions. And I know G's going to say Guendouzi is top of that list.
Number 1. Number 2, Willian. And number 3, I think Nketiah. It's got to be done. Like he did have a loan spell, I think, the year before last, and we sort of brought him back, but he's not getting in and he's not doing anything. Like, let's just, even if he goes Championship, like, we'll just take the loss and clear it, I think.
Yeah, I think I like the idea of him being a part and added on extra for Bissouma. Because they need someone up the front, because their defense is solid, but they've just got no attacking power at all.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. I think we need to. I think with the amount of players we've got in terms of like it being an unbalanced squad and we're quite heavy in certain positions, I think we need to make the most of including players in deals, because we've got a surplus of players that we really don't want. And if we can get rid of them in cash part exchange player or whatever they want to call it, I think that would be your best bet. But in terms of the 3 that have to go, it's a struggle to keep it down to 3, to be honest.
Give me more names then, Jay.
But for me, players that have to go. Like if we look at the forward positions, Eddie, as Georgina said, Eddie has to go. I really like Eddie. I think he's a really likable guy. I think he's got the under 21 goal scoring records. But he's just he's lightweight. He's a bit of a tap-in merchant, and he just doesn't really suit us. So he has to go up front. Obviously, Willian, I think every single Arsenal fan, globally wants to see this guy leave the club. So he needs to go. So I think those 2 in the forward positions would definitely be, you're chosen. I think in midfield, I think I'm going to put Ainsley Maitland-Niles in there because he wants to be a midfielder. So I think he needs to go. I think Willock needs to go. I think El Nene in a perfect world needs to go. Tobias is gone. Odegaard is already gone. I really don't want to sign Odegaard back on loan. If that's the only thing we can do. If he's not going to sign on a permanent transfer, I just don't see the point, because I feel like we're just giving this guy minutes to turn him into a world beater or get his form so he can just go to Madrid and win La Liga. The whole concept kind of annoys me.
I think if we did try to buy him, I think he'd be overpriced, and I think we could probably buy Aaron's and Buendia for that price.
That's it. And the whole concept annoys me.
I'd rather buy the Championship players. Yeah, they know what it's like to play over here.
Definitely. And someone in the defense that has to go is Kalashnik. He's just got to go.
I don't see the point of him.
Got to go. Seriously, I said in one of my videos, that the best thing he did in an Arsenal shirt was stop Ozil getting robbed, and I'll stand by that. That was the most positive thing he did. He just doesn't have a football brain, in my opinion. He just doesn't.
Do you know what I know this is going to be really bad, but he reminds me of one of the East Island heads. I just look at him and that's what I see.
Yeah, he's just Yeah, I don't want him anywhere near us, man. He just needs to go.
Definitely. I mean, I know we've touched on Ainsley, Maitland-Niles, but we want. And I know he doesn't want the right back, but surely you'd play where you're told if you want to get minutes. I mean, I don't understand his logic in that. Him refusing to play. I mean, if you had to play somewhere else on that pitch on a Sunday or a Saturday, would you still do it if you had to? If you couldn't be that left winger?
I get told, like, can you go back there? And I'm like, yeah, all right. I'll go up top. I'm like, I'll do my best. That's the thing. You have to appreciate that I know you come through the academy as such, and you're a part of the thing, club, and you must have some sort of belief in yourself. But when you look at a team like Arsenal, you're not gonna guarantee, unless you're insane, you're not gonna get your starting position probably straight away. You're gonna have to earn it, and in some way, maybe playing in many different positions to then get your chance there when others are injured and take that chance. But yeah, I agree. Now that he has been like shipped out, I was glad last summer when we kept him, but now he has sort of gone again. It's like you haven't heard a lot, and you don't really miss him either. Like the sentiment to the academy sometimes overpowers what is actually right for the team.
Yeah.
And especially if he stays at West Brom and goes back there or goes somewhere else, and you get a bit of money for him, you're still making money because he was for free in the first place. So yeah, I agree. But also Torreira, I feel like that situation has to be stopped because he obviously doesn't want to be here. Like he didn't really want to go to Madrid, but he also didn't want to stay here for that season. So I think that has to be. They sort of have to come to some sort of agreement now.
Oh, so that was my next question, Tony. You beat me to it again. Guys, what do we think about Saliba? I mean, he's been in League One. His stats are looking, I'd say, all right, but I still feel he should have gone to the Championship rather than League One because it's going to take him a while to get used to our league again. What do we think?
You know what it is like? It's oh god, it's one of these things at the centre back position. It's like, again, I just feel like there's an imbalance in the centre back position. We've got two of our arguably best centre backs play in the same position, which is Gabriel Mari. So we've got Gabriel, who for me has all the attributes to be a world-class centre back. He's very raw still, and I think he does need to develop his game. But in terms of strength, good in the air, power, pace, he's got everything. He's like a coach's dream in terms of a centre back, because all he has to be is humble and willing to learn and be a quick learner, and he has every single physical attribute you want for him to actually be a world-class centre back. So we've got him, and then you've got Mari, who is who just does everything right. He's almost like Mr. Right. He's Mr. Cool. He's Mr. Calm, and he's got a very good football brain. He's a very good communicator, and he just seems to do things with ease. And these guys both play in the left centre-back position. And then in the right centre-back position now, we've got an aging David Luiz, who's now leaving, who always had a red card, a mistake in him. Even when it wasn't his fault, he still had, for some reason, he still got stitched up and got a red card. So, one of your most clumsiest and unluckiest, but brilliant defenders on their day. He's now left. And then you've got Rob Holding, who I feel as though Arsenal fans, we are very much... in love with the idea of Rob Holding being a world-class centre-back and being better than what he is. And then we've got the whole Saliba situation. Now, I wasn't totally against him going back to France, because I read into some of the personal issues he had. He lost his father, his mother. There were a lot of personal issues. And I feel as though what he probably needed was familiarity at that point. He needed to go back home, because what we have to remember, he's a kid still. You know, I'm sitting here, big 36, 37. This guy is like 19 years of age. He's lost his parents in a short space of time. He's coming to another country, doesn't know the language, doesn't know the culture, is away from everything that he's familiar with. So although I think for his career, I think I agree with you, Lottie. I think it would have been a lot better had he gone to a championship side or maybe even a lower league premiership side. But I just think given the personal issues surrounding his life at that point, I think what they did was probably the best move for him. And I think his form has shown that. He's definitely gone back there, he's settled, and I think his performances are showing that that probably was the right move. Now, in terms of him being ready for the Arsenal first team, I don't think he is, personally. And the reason why I say that is because we've just had our most horrendous season. Let's face it, you know, we're all sitting here and we're all putting on our optimistic hats because we love our club, and there's no point actually dwelling on last season. We've got to just look to the future. At the same time, as soon as the first whistle blows in the first game of next season, and this poor kid makes a misplaced pass or scores an own goal, Arsenal Twitter are just gonna literally ruin this guy's whole confidence within an hour, you know. So yeah. I just look at it and I just think to myself, you know, I know we've been linked with Tapsoba from Bayer Leverkusen, and we've been linked with other defenders, and I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think that the Arsenal backroom staff feel that he's going to come in and literally just slot straight into that back four. I think if we don't sign a Tapsoba or somebody like that with a little bit more experience, then what will happen is Holding will be starting at the beginning of next season. I see Saliba coming in and being in and around the team during pre-season, but honestly, I don't see Saliba starting a game for us immediately at the beginning of next season. I think he will slowly transition him into the side. But, you know, I think we need to be careful in terms of our expectations of Saliba, because yes, he will be a king, possibly one day, in terms of, you know, being he's got all the attributes, but, you know, I think for us to think he's going to come in and just be the missing piece for this back four, I think expectations need to be lowered a little bit, because, you know, he's still learning his game. He's still very young, and yeah, there's a long way to go. There's a long way to go.
I've just seen something new I've actually just learned off Tony. I didn't realise that Saliba has actually played with Gabriel Amari at Saint Etienne and Nice.
Wow, there you go. So
we've got the foundations, but definitely agree with you, lowering the bar, especially coming from League One to here.
Yeah.
Right, guys, if you've got any questions for us now, now's the time to stick them in the comments. I am going to wrap up now. It's the end of my first show. Thank you for all tuning in. Thank you to my guests, even Jess, who's vacated, and also my super sub down the bottom, G.
No problem, man.
Which was an absolute lifesaver, which is great. Where are we? Also, everyone in the chat locked in tonight, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. You can find Cannon Chatter on Twitter at Cannon Chatter. You can find us on Facebook as well. Cannon Chatter and on Instagram, Cannon_Chatter. We're all around. If you want to follow G, where can we find you, Georgina? Sorry.
At Lil Trigger on Twitter and G-Triggs on Instagram.
Brilliant. What about you, G?
G Talks Arsenal. At G Talks Arsenal. Yeah, that's where you'll find me. I'm no longer G Rants because I'm trying to take off the ranting hat and put on the talking hat again, but we'll see what the summer holds, because, you know, G Rants may make another appearance next season, depending whether we can get this Buendia deal over the line or not.
Yeah, no, I'm rooting for Buendia. I just hope people don't hold me to my word for my tweet earlier this evening. Otherwise I will be in trouble. Right, that's it. I think we're going to sign off, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.
Have a good evening, guys. Take care.